if you're in business, every day should be exciting if you're thinking about, man, who's that next contact I'm going to make today? Who's that next phone call I'm going to talk to that's going to unleash? I mean, look at the companies we're working on, the businesses we're working on right now, the stuff that's coming just because we keep making connections and phone calls, stuff that we didn't even see coming.
Exactly.
And so now I wake up every day going, what's going to happen today?
Mm-hmm.
What could potentially happen today?
I would tell people, my suggestion would be, especially if you're a believer, that anybody thinks that everything is going to go perfectly, and if everything is going right, you're not having challenges or people problems or things happening in your life, I would suggest you study Paul, right? If you study Paul's life, I mean, he was locked up in jail, he was persecuted. I mean, all this stuff that happened to Paul.
Big time.
And you think about what he was doing, right? And really what he did for the world today. What Paul did was absolutely incredible, but then you look at all the challenges and the struggles that he went through, and for me, it's kind of a big reminder, because I always think about, like, God was allowing Paul to go through those things to become who he is to the world today. Mm-hmm. If he wouldn't have went through those things,
could have never become that.
He couldn't have. So it's not like a lot of times, like when you're struggling, God's trying to tell me something. No, right? Just keep going, get better, persevere, be a leader, make good decisions. Yeah. You inspire other people. And then eventually, once you start breaking through, that's what causes breakthroughs, right? Is you just keep going. You just, you just keep getting better. And it was like, this climber you're just talking about, he didn't quit climbing that day. No. He made a decision. He made a decision to say, okay, I've got to choose an alternate route.
Yep.
He didn't change the destination of his career.
He still did it. He still went back and did it, yeah.
Yeah, he just made it. He made a choice, right? I got to choose a different route. Mm-hmm. And that route was maybe a different day or different weather, or he needed, whatever it may be. But he didn't change the destination because he had a hard time. And I think most people have a hard time in life, and they change, they quit. Mm-hmm. And it's in those, like in marriages, how often do you see people have a hard time in marriage and they quit? Mm-hmm. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Isn't that why we're here in life, is to, honor God by being great men and women and building great families and procreating and do what God called us to do? Like, isn't that what we're here for? So then why does it get hard? Why do you punk out? Mm-hmm. I was having this conversation with Kelsey the other day because, my father wasn't around growing up, and I never had this, like, my mom never made any money. We lived in a trailer. We didn't have a good life. My mom really, she was around, but she didn't raise us because she was working and all the, we were out, the streets were raising us. Mm-hmm. And I look back on that and I see so many people that grew up very similar to me and my family. And they use that as excuses. Oh, my dad did this, or my mom did. I'm like, so what? Like, what does that have to do with you?
Yeah.
Like, what does that have to do with the choices you make? Mm-hmm. Because that was the choice they made. Well, yeah, but it affected me. Well, how is it going to affect you to make a positive change in your life? Yeah. Right? And so Kelsey said that to me the other day. She goes, I've never heard you, and I never have. I've never heard you talk about your past as a victim. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know what? That's one of the best things you've ever said to me, because as much as I never really thought about it, I don't look at my past as that way.
Yeah.
I don't look at anything my mom went through that affected my life as her fault for my life. I look at, this is my life. It's my choice. Yeah. Now, I got 5 brothers and sisters that, some of them made better decisions than others. Mm-hmm. But the ones that aren't doing anything with their lives are all the ones that have that victim mentality.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, it's up to me. It's up to me to make good choices, and up to me to move forward. It's up to me to, when I face a hard situation, just get better.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, it may not be your fault that you were raised a certain way, but it is your responsibility to make your life is what it needs to
Or
be,
it's
right?
not Colin's fault that he's on K2 with 6 dudes stuffed in his tent and the weather turns bad. That's not his fault. Right? But it is his choice to choose another day to go climb that mountain. It is his choice to go back and get better and prepare again and continue to climb, right? Whether that's that mountain or whatever, or to chase these hard things. I mean, hunting, we were talking about hunting, right? And, you know, I'm just having fun and new to hunting, you know? And,
Sure.
And the other day we were out hunting coyotes and you said, yeah, most guys who come out here and had a day like this, they wouldn't come back. And I'm like, what? Like, I thought, I mean, we're hunting coyotes, not shooting coyotes. You know, I want to shoot one, but right now we're hunting, you know?
We need to go shooting one day. I'm shooting coyotes.
Yeah. So it's like, it's okay to me to go out and have a goal to shoot a coyote. And we heard some, we didn't see any, there was no shot to take.
Yep.
It's okay. It doesn't make me go, oh, this doesn't work. Oh, that's God telling me I shouldn't be hunting.
Yeah.
No, it's not how it works at all. And I don't understand. I don't try to understand it, but I do know this. If you want to be successful, you need to look at situations like that and choose to just lean into that stuff and go, okay, what do I got to do to get better next time? So when I'm out here, I can take a shot.
Yep.
You know, and I think those things that they don't seem like they matter to success a lot.
Well, sometimes it's not that you got to do it better or different. You just got to do it more.
Again.
You just got to do it again.
Just keep going.
Yeah, one more step, one more day, one more.
But isn't that how you get better? Right? It is. It's like lifting weights.
Yeah.
You don't have to like be perfect when you get into the gym all the time. Just go lift something heavy.
Yep.
Right? Just go lift. And maybe you do start light.
Go stretch. Go walk.
Yep.
I mean, you know.
I hurt my back. I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years ago. And dude, it was bad. I mean, I did everything I could do to try to fix it. I went and got MRIs and CAT scans. I tried acupuncture, chiropractors. I mean, you name it. I tried everything. And every time I got an MRI or a CAT scan or something like that, doctor would say, oh, yeah, there's nothing there. You're just fine. I'm like, it's not fine. I can feel that it's not fine. Oh, we can give you these painkillers. I'm like, dude, I won't take a Tylenol. I'm not going to take a painkiller. So they would always tell me this stuff. And so what I decided that I was going to do is I was going to go to the gym and I was just going to strengthen my core and my lower body. Well, the hard part behind that was I was working out at Lifetime in Las Vegas, and there's all these like famous fitness influencers and everybody's in great shape. And there's a lot of, and I can't tell you, dude, it really was hard for me to go to the gym and decide to take off all the weights off the squat bar and just start squatting the bar. And just worrying about my form, squatting the bar, and then adding a little bit weight, and a little bit weight. Took everything inside of me not to just go back to my ego and my pride and going, you should be stronger, you should be this because this guy's doing this. This was my journey. I just had to take off all the weight, go to the bar, and start strengthening my core. And I can tell you today, dude, I squat more today than I ever have. I deadlift today more than I ever have. And it's been a long journey, but it was just me willing to just take off the weight and just start somewhere and just move forward without worrying about what anybody else thinks. And I think a lot of people put so much pressure on themselves about what everybody else thinks or what you should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and then that changes the way they act, and then because they change their actions, they change their results, and then they wonder why they just don't feel like they're getting to where they need to go. That's because you're not acting in accordance to what you know. You know where you should start. You know where you should be.
Yeah.
You know you're trying to take a shortcut.
Be present with who you are at that moment and focus on what you versus you. You hear that all the time.
Yep.
There's a program I saw a while ago. It was called 5 by 5 by 5, and a trainer, and he said every day you go and you do 5 sets of 5 squats. You do 5 reps, 5 reps, 5 sets of squats, and then you bench and like pull-ups one day, and the next day, every day you only work out 3 days a week. But anyway, the point was, he said you start off with the bar. I don't care where you're at, you're going to start with the bar, and every workout you're going to add 5 pounds, so 2.5 pounds each side.
Yep.
And it doesn't take very long if you do the math. It's within a few months you'll be you'll be squatting more, benching more, deadlifting more than you ever have before, just adding 5 pounds.
Yep.
So pretty cool. I mean, I think you're so right on with that. I know you're right on with that. If we, in fact, Colin Bray talks about that when he was going across the Antarctic. He called his wife the first day. So he tries to pull this sled. He cannot move this sled. Like, he gets dropped off in the plane, and there's a.
Do they talk about this guy in the comfort crisis?
I don't think so.
No, I would say I've heard this story.
He got dropped off with a Navy, not a Navy SEAL, but a British Special Forces guy who just decided to do it at the same time. It had never been done before. Anyway, so this guy's like trudging through the snow. Like, starts off, and he can't move his sled. He's like trying to budget. He cannot move his sled. And so anyway, he pulls it like, I don't know, 100 yards or something. First waypoint's like a mile, right? Calls his wife on a satellite phone. Honey, I know I called this the impossible first. We got the name right. She goes, honey, don't worry about the headlines. Don't worry about the New York Times. Don't worry about that other guy. Just go one more step. Just keep going. Just do your best, you know? So he did. Anyway, long story short, he ended up beating the guy for that 1,000 miles. And then it was like 45 or 54 days or something like that straight.
Dang.
Walked 12 hours a day pulling that sled, 12 hours every day.
And how many days, you say?
It was 45,
Think
55.
about this,
It was, it might have been more than that. It was a couple months.
I don't know how long it took that man to prepare for that, but it probably took him a long time to prepare, and probably worked, years to prepare. And then when the time came for him to doubt himself, he just decides to keep going. And then he finishes. He'll be able to talk about that for the rest of his life. Yeah. Nobody can ever take that away from him because he was willing to. What a cool story. Man.
And the belief of not just for him, but everybody in the world going, whoa, a human being did that. That means somebody else could do it, right?
It's a 4-minute mile.
4-minute mile. This is exactly what it's
like Art used to say, do everything you can plus a little bit more. Mm-hmm. How many people really live by that philosophy?
Probably not very many.
Not very many.
Yeah. It's again, comfort crisis. It is a crisis. We lay in our nice, comfortable beds in the morning, right? We drive in our nice, comfortable cars to work. We sit in our comfortable desks. People get home, they watch TV on their comfortable couch, and they do that for their whole life. And they wonder why they've got all these, hurting backs and all this stuff when they get older. It's because they're not utilizing their body, right?
In addition to even diet, I don't like water, so I got to put the sugar in it, or you know what I mean? Or it's just why? Where in society did people become so weak that everything they had to do, they just wanted to make it more comfortable? Mm-hmm. And I think you can trace back a lot of problems to those times. I think we were biologically created by God to struggle, right? We grow from struggle. Look at when you struggle lifting weights, you get stronger physically. If you struggle mentally and you push through, you get stronger mentally, and you're able to handle more challenges.
I think a lot of times people say stress is bad, stress causes cancer. It's actually not stress. Stress is actually good for you. It's distress that's bad for you, right? Yeah. So we can be in distress, and that's what causes all the disease. But stressing your muscles, stressing your mind, stressing your emotions in a healthy way is actually going to help you grow. I stress about raising my kids, or being a better husband to my wife, but I hope it's in a healthy way, not in a oh my gosh, it's going to cause cancer way. I'm not worried. I'm trying to give myself that. Just like in business, I'm always thinking, okay, where are we at for the month? What are what are our goals? Are we on track for our goals? What do we got to do to hit those goals? What can we do to ramp it up?
Yep. I would call that feeling desire.
Yeah.
It's like desire.
Yeah.
How do you describe desire to somebody?
Yep.
I would say positive
but I think some
stress.
people call it stress. They mix that up, right? They think it's distress.
Yeah.
And I would agree. I think the day that I lose that is the day I'm in trouble.
Yeah. I think all of us. So let me ask you this. Throughout your career, you've worked with thousands of people. You've developed a lot of successful people. You've helped a lot of people change their lives and get financially independent, make millions of dollars. You've helped people save their marriages. You've helped, all kinds of different people, right? I'm sure there's more than one thing, but what are the top 1 or 2 or 3 things that you see that both of those people do, right? So you have people who succeed and people who fail. And a lot of times people that fail go, well, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, right? And so they do a lot of these common denominator things, right? So I would like to know what are some of those things you see a lot of people doing, but then what is the one or two or three things that the people who fail, even though they're doing some of these fundamental basics, what are they missing? Like, what is it? Because I see it a lot. I would sit down with husbands and wives. I know you kind of know where the question comes from. I know there's someone listening right now that's going, man, I feel like I'm doing most of that, but what am I missing? So if you can just cover, like, what are some of the common denominators between winners and people who haven't won yet, things that they both do good and that they're both required for success. But then what are the couple of things that maybe the person who's not winning just isn't quite understanding that that's what's going to separate you?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I didn't develop anybody, right? People develop themselves. So now what
I would argue to say you developed yourself. You provided an incredible example for people to follow.
There you go. So I would say I gave them the tools and the blueprint. Yep. Okay. I would say you take those two different people, right? And they both do a lot of things. Art Williams talked about this a lot, right? What's the difference between the $50,000 a year earner and the $500,000 a year earner? And what he said is the $500,000 earner does it all and a little bit more. I would definitely say that is definitely a trait of the ones that win big. Absolutely. I would also say the ones that make it, they plug in, and not only do they plug into everything they can, but they plug in with a very positive, optimistic attitude. Not a fake, hype, excited attitude, but a genuine. You can tell someone who's trying to hype it up and someone who's genuine. You can tell. And a lot of people that are excited, it's not a genuine excitement. And you can tell because they're very sporadic in how they act. I find myself doing that sometimes.
Up and down in their emotions.
Yeah, I find I'm guilty of it myself sometimes when I'm trying to hype something up that I do know is good, but for whatever reason, I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be there, and I'm trying to hype it up more instead of making sure I'm in alignment with whatever that is. When in my financial business, I was there. I had a good energy a genuine energy about me, which is what attracted people. Whereas other people would join, and they were like this hyped up, rah, and that actually, I think, repels people because they can smell that out. So
yeah, I think in that where people get so excited, it's like also when you're the opposite and you're down, you're going to get so down.
Yeah.
Because if you're that excited when you're up, imagine how you're going to feel when you're down.
Exactly.
So effort, attitude, those are
showing up. Yeah.
And showing up. So what do you think are some of the common denominators that both of them do, and the people that aren't winning just aren't seeing it?
Yeah. Okay. So this is a good question, because I had some people that I'm like, man, it looks like they're doing everything. Like from the outside, they showed up, they were positive, they were good people, they worked hard, but there was some intangible, and I believe it was something internal, some internal belief system where they just didn't, for whatever reason, clearly see the vision of where they needed to go. I mean, I saw it a lot, and it was painful for me sometimes, because I would sit down with them and say, okay, show me your presentation. They had all their skills down. Okay. You're showing up to everything. Okay. How's your coaching? When you're coaching these people, tell me how it goes, and their team would come to me with complaints. Hey, this person, they're just awkward or whatever. Right. So I think sometimes that can be a situation. You got to learn how to, some people are a bit quirky, but I've seen a lot of quirky people be super successful.
Yes.
So I don't necessarily think it's
Elon Musk is quirky.
He's very, very, yeah. So I don't think that's necessarily it. So I'm trying to answer your question in a clear way.
Can I tell you what I think it is?
Yeah.
I wanted to see what you say, because this has happened between you and I many times in our career. I truly believe, anybody listening to this, and I just want to be clear, and I could be wrong, but this is my perspective, because I learned this from you, and I don't know how I learned it, and I don't know how I understood it, but I thank God every day that I did early on. Mm-hmm. But I see so many people, man. I've had people in my business, people I've worked with, or people I even didn't. I look at them and I go, they're great people. They're sharp. They have charisma. They work hard. They treat people good. They love the Lord. They work out. They've got good physical fitness, good hygiene. It's like they've almost got it all. And for some reason, they just can't figure out, why haven't they had that breakthrough to where these other people, it seems like they're doing all the same things and this person succeeded and they didn't. And I think Art was right. And, you do everything you can plus a little bit more. You love it a little bit more. You think about it a little bit more. But I think the ultimate thing that I've seen throughout the years is the people that win over the people that didn't. All things equal, the people that won made selfless choices. They thought about themselves less and put other people first. Mm-hmm. And the people that didn't did everything right, but when they had a chance, they made some selfish choices. Such as, I'll never forget, man, we earned the highest promotion in the company. Mm-hmm. It was like, we earned it, we qualified for it, but technically you could have made us wait till the next month, right? Mm-hmm. The company gave you the option to say, hey, have them do it again, mm-hmm. right? That was an option. Yeah. But you didn't.
Yeah.
And it wasn't good for you. It cost you money, mm-hmm. right? And I didn't care either way. Like, I wasn't going to look at it either way. No. But our team cared, mm-hmm. right? Our team fought for it. They wanted this reward. And, the choice, you had that choice at the time. It was like, do I throw fuel on this fire and ignite this excitement that's happening in this organization? Or do I take the wind out of their sails?
Yeah. You guys had a killer month that month, man.
Oh my gosh, it was crazy. It wasn't even me, right? It was like, I got on the plane. Yeah. I was actually traveling to Atlanta, and I was on the plane for 5 or 6 hours, and we did more production in 6 hours because our team...
It was insane.
They're amazing, man. It's just, you meet incredible people like that. You get a group of people together, and they did what we had done all month, they did in 6 hours while I was on a plane.
Yeah.
And I think that I watched you do that over and over. You just made these selfless choices, man. It was like when we became RVPs, like, it didn't make sense. I still look back and go, I give you a hard time. Well, you just thought we were going to go up to Idaho and quit, No, you were, I think genuinely you were trying to do what's best for us, not what was best for you at the time. Mm-hmm. And I think God blesses people who put others first.
Yeah, I think so. I try to do that. I saw you do the same thing. I think that, I really did. I mean, that really was my focus through my whole career with my teammates, but not everybody saw it that way, right? And I look at those situations where some people looked at it as, oh, you're in it for you. And I look at that and I take responsibility for that. And I think the reason that they felt that way is I didn't work hard enough at that relationship so they knew my heart. Yeah. Because if they knew my heart, they would have known, hey, listen, the reason you didn't get your promotion this month is because there's a little more in you. And if you'll do it a little bit bigger next month, it'll be, because there were situations where that was a better way to go. It just was. Or at least that was my perspective. Maybe I was wrong.
Yeah.
But I think, looking at, we were talking about, God, allowing us to go through challenging times. Well, it's because I think he looks at us the same way. I try to, and he goes, man, Brandon, Jeff, you guys can be a little stronger, but you're going to have to go through this crap right now. You're going to have to go through this learning experience over the next several weeks, months, years to get there. Yep. And I might lose you. I hope I don't lose you. And there are situations where you got to make those tough calls with your teammates where you got to lead them, not over love them. You got to love them. I mean, you love them comes first, I think, but you can't love them so much that you don't lead them.
Right.
That makes sense. You got to love them enough to lead them.
Yeah.
And those are some tough decisions to make sometimes, and situation in that case where your team just totally blew it off. That was an easy one for me, but there were times when it wasn't that easy, and I'm trying to make those calls.
Why it was easy for you, though? Because it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, people listening, it was 10, 15, 20 grand a month.
Yeah.
That it cost you.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so, I've seen it so many times and where someone would fight for a promotion, and they might just barely miss it. And the leader could have, promoted them and just recognized their effort, but they're like, they didn't want to impact their income. Mm-hmm. No, I'm not giving them a promotion. It reduces my spread. And there's that selfish choice. Mm-hmm. And you do see it a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think versus, having that servant mentality of I genuinely am here as a tool to bless others or use my talents and skills to make wherever I'm at, whatever I'm doing, better for other people around me. And that's a hard thing to do. And I think if we can stay focused on that, on these selfless choices, I really do think that's probably the biggest separator between people who haven't won and people that do. So if you're listening to this and you feel like you're doing all the right things, and maybe, man, what is it that I'm missing? Maybe that little bit more is pouring into someone a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Maybe that little bit more is thinking about yourself a little bit less, so you are thinking about them a little bit more, their situation and how you can help them. Or you can't do it for them. That's a hard thing too, right? Is like sometimes you love these people, you want to do it for them. You're like, if I could, I would, right? Yeah. I would take the pain and the struggle. It's like our kids, right?
Yep.
I would do it for them if I thought it made them better, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I'm here to serve. I'm here to make it better. And if there's ever a chance where I get to make a choice of if it's going to be a win-lose situation, the person losing in that situation is going to be me. I'm going to make sure they win every time, because eventually what happens, what people forget, if you do that enough times, you have all these people that you took the short end of the stick a bunch. Those people, through the law of reciprocity, feel like, man, I owe them. Yeah. And yeah, I really think you put yourself in a position as a leader for naturally people to say, I want to fight for the team, the organization that put me here, versus, no, if I fight hard, they're not going to promote me, or they're not going to give me this. They just care about themselves.
Well, don't you believe it? I mean, human beings, if I'm willing to do anything for you, yeah, in exchange, you're naturally going to do anything for me.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, I made mistakes in my business where, I think one of the reasons why you and Kelsey did so well is because you pretty much went out on your own and were on your own, and you made it happen. You know, we helped you a little bit here and there, tiny little things, but you guys had to go do it. You guys had to go create the environment. And then I had other people that I maybe helped out a little too much, right? Maybe I gave them some people, or I, helped them, stay in an office for a while, maybe longer than they should have, or maybe some people I made go out to. So I think that, there's a fine line. Anytime you're building a business with people and you're trying to build leaders, if you give people too many things, they tend to get an entitlement mentality. Yeah. And it's almost not even their fault. They almost just start going, well, they start to kind of expect it, right? Yep. And so I would just, if you're building leaders, look for the leaders that are doing it, that you can help train and help develop to do it on their own. Make sure they're doing it on their own. Make sure they can do everything they need to do to succeed on their own. And then maybe hey, you're doing a great job. I want to give you this little extra spiff here. I want to give you this extra person to work with, after they've already shown that they know how to do it, right?
Yeah, it's like you're rewarding the effort, not a carrot to try to motivate someone who's not moving.
So important.
Yeah.
In anything in business. Yeah, if you're going to do stock incentives with your company or something like that, right?
Yep.
Don't be giving anybody anything.
Right.
But if they're earning it because of their efforts, then you might say, I really appreciate it. It's like contest, right?
Yep.
We're gonna go to Hawaii this year with our top people. What do I got to do to be the top? What do I got to do to go to Hawaii? Be one of the top 10.
Yep.
In what? Just in everything you can do.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
And it comes and you just say, I'm going to take 12.
Yep.
And you take those people, and people that didn't get invited, you just didn't do enough. Yep. But you know what? You're doing a great job. I appreciate you. And, here's some other recognition or something for you, because you're doing a great job too. But yeah, man, I mean, you reward people that are doing it. I think that's something we learned.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think that sometimes we love people and they're going through painful situations. And it's almost like our natural response when we love them is to take the pressure off, not realizing the pressure is what's making them stronger. Mm-hmm. So rather than taking the pressure off them, it's like allow them to get through it and then reward the behavior that went through that pain and came out the other side. It's like when you do that, then you reward that. Yeah. And I think as leaders, if we can do a good job of remembering to reward the sacrifice and the struggle en route to victory, then people are going to continue to remember that. It's like, oh, it's hard. Last time I fought through this, I got rewarded at the end.
It's good to have a good wife that would always remind me when somebody was going through a hard time. I go, man, they're just going through this, Lex. I don't know. She goes, don't you remember we did the same thing? We went through all that crap too. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess we did. Then I didn't feel. I'm like, okay, they'll be okay, right? Yeah. Because initially, like, they're not going to make it, you know, and some don't make it,
right?
And but if you take that away from them, they're not going to make it for sure, because they've got to go through those challenging times to learn and get better, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with it's like kids, It's like when we're kids and we have these emotions, when we grow up, those emotions and those responses don't really change. We just get better at hiding them.
Mm-hmm.
We get better at like covering them up. And so I always try to think about, like how did I act or respond when I was a child? How do my kids respond? And then just, like I want my kids to, go conquer the world and be the greatest they can be, And so as they grow up, those feelings and those emotions and those responses aren't going to change unless I give them the tools, to be able to know how to do it on their own. But I can't make them want to succeed. I can't make them want to have a great family. All I can do is provide a great example, do the best, and then realize that they get rewarded when they do great things.
Oh.
And I think that's like with school with my son. He does homeschool and he's ahead right now. And he's probably going to finish second grade in, the end of January. And he knows it. He knows he's ahead. And so he wants a motorcycle right now. And I'm like, dude, really? He just that's what he wants is a motorcycle.
My kids want too. Dirt bikes.
Yeah, that's what he wants. and I understand, where we live, it'd be perfect,
Yeah.
And I said, I'll tell you what, when you finish second grade, if you finish third grade, by July 31st, I'll buy you a motorcycle. So you're going to get a reward for not just doing what you are supposed to do, because you're supposed to do second grade anyway, right? I'm not going to reward you for doing second grade. That's what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go above and beyond and you go take another step and you go further than you have to, than is required, then I want to reward that.
He's like, game on.
Yeah, and that's it. And so a lot of times where I'll be like, hey, you don't have to worry. You don't have school today, Well, Dad, I want to do school.
I was going to ask you, how do you keep yourself excited every day? Because I know it's like that's what you're doing for Rome, and so what are we doing? Right? What are we doing to have our next goal? And does it excite us as much as that dirt bike excites Rome? And if it does, we're going to go do it. So we've always got to be having that next. Even if it's a thing, if it's a vacation you want to take, if it's something you want to do with your family, if it's something you just want to go do or get or a car or whatever it is, it's got to be something that really gets you excited, though.
True.
Otherwise, it doesn't work.
And so many people are worried about. I learned this early on because when I came into business, I had to go. I just wanted to buy a Ferrari. That's all I cared about. Mm-hmm. So many people, that's kind of selfish, but it really is what drove me. Mm-hmm. And we paid death claims, and people paid off their homes, and people retired because we helped them invest money, and all these great things happen because I wanted a Ferrari.
Yep.
And so I tell people all the time, if your selfish goal provides a selfless outcome, you should go for it.
Absolutely.
At all costs.
Yeah, it's good advice.
Because that selfish goal might drive you to do things that change people's lives around you. Mm-hmm. And if it does, is it really selfish? Or is it just a reward for selfless behavior?
Right.
And that's the thing I think if we ask ourselves. And I think a good question you just asked, man, is what we're chasing exciting us like our kids get excited about Christmas or the next thing that they want.
And I'll tell you what, if you're in a business, every day should be exciting if you're thinking about, man, who's that next contact I'm going to make today? Who's that next phone call I'm going to talk to that's going to unleash? I mean, look at the companies we're working on, the businesses we're working on right now, the stuff that's coming just because we keep making connections and phone calls, stuff that we didn't even see coming.
Exactly.
And so now I wake up every day going, what's going to happen today?
Mm-hmm.
What could potentially happen today?
Yes.
And most days that stuff doesn't happen.
Right.
But I would do the same thing when I was recruiting people. Man, today I'm going to find my next leader.
Yep.
And I just had that mentality. Today's the day. Coyote hunting, right? We called no coyotes the other day, but I'm like, man, next stand we're calling it a coyote. Like every single one, I'm like, this is exciting. Go deer hunting. Now this is the year I'm going to kill a monster,
Yep.
So
that's the expectations, though.
Yeah.
Right. And I think expectations and standards determine our life, right? They determine the outcome. And if you have an expectation, a positive expectation, because of these incredible standards, then you're going to have a great life. If you have a negative expectation because you have low standards, then your life's probably going to suck. It really is that simple.
Yeah.
But I mean, we complicate it because there's all this noise in our lives, and we have social media that distracts us, and we see these highlight reels of other people's lives and go, man, I should be better. Kelsey always jokes around about how there's all these a million perfect moms on Instagram. They make these perfect lunches for their kids and all that kind of stuff. But really, is their life really this perfect thing, or is that just this recorded reel on social media?
Yeah. I doubt it's perfect.
We know the reality, right? And so the fact is, because we get distracted by all that stuff, where our expectations or our standards are set based on some false thing, rather than if we choose to set our expectations and our standards within our households and our and from biblical truths. A lot of times we act in accordance. We feel good about it. We know what we're doing is right. We walk in faith because we know we're making good choices and good decisions, and we expect a good outcome, and then your attitude is good. You're excited about the future. You treat people good.
Yep.
You don't have the scarcity mindset going, oh my gosh, which I've made all these mistakes, man. I've been controlling, frustrated. How can I make it happen? You can't, right? And I've messed up relationships because of it. And, there's a million times I've called people and said, hey, man, I messed up. I shouldn't have done that. And there's people that I would still love to tell that to, like, hey, I shouldn't have done this, or I messed up, or I was just insecure, or I was just trying to control the outcome, or whatever it may be.
Yep.
And I think that's another point too, is if you have made mistakes, you said this earlier, is don't dwell on the past, but be willing to say sorry. Like I tell my kids a lot of times, look, sorry goes a long ways.
It does.
If you have a genuine thing, like, man, I messed up, it doesn't make you look weak or look like less because you're willing to admit fault.
Right.
It actually makes you look a lot stronger. Like, hey, I messed up. I'm willing to get better, Yeah. I think so often people look at successful people and think, oh my gosh, they're perfect. And no, you're seeing the result of 20 years of screw ups.
Absolutely.
And that's all it is that the person who succeeded messed up way more times, and they had a desire to change, just make good choices more often. They made bad choices. And after 20 years, you see this result of it. Dang, that's like Elon Musk sleeping on the floor of Twitter now. And then it was Tesla. I mean, you can go look back at Elon's Twitter and you can kind of see his timeline of the stuff he's done. He's pretty good at posting, when he's working really hard, and you can know the outcome. Like go look at if you go look at his Twitter when he was first ramping up Tesla and him talking about sleeping on the factory floors, getting the processes right, hiring the right people, all that kind of stuff. And you go look at the stock 2 years later. Yeah. It exploded, but it was because he was willing to do those things. Yeah.
Yeah, and then people will see someone who's successful make a phone call and make $50,000 because they made a phone call. And they go, man, they make money so easy. Well, you don't see the 30 years of experience and credibility and relationships they had to build to be able to make that phone call and make that $50,000.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, I've had those situations where I go, man, I spent a couple hours on that deal and I made a lot of money on that little phone call or conversation. Just like you're seeing that all the time too. Yep. And I have to remind myself, I have to go, that was 2 hours worth of work. That was 20 years worth of work. Yes. That's why that happened, right? Yes. That was because of all that hard time, all that crap I went through, that I was able to do this now, you know? And so you got to keep things in perspective, and people go, man, some people are luckier than others. And there's definitely some luck. There's no doubt, but
absolutely.
The more prepared you are and the more effort and work you put in, the more times you get lucky.
Yeah, you have to be prepared. It was like, I think Oprah said that luck is when opportunity or preparation meets opportunity. So you got to be prepared, and then you got to put yourself out there in the world to find an opportunity, right? So, it's like, and it could be like our previous business, right? It was like that opportunity for me was being across the kitchen table from a qualified prospect, somebody that I could recruit into my business, or somebody could become a new client, great referral source, whatever it may be. But I had to put myself in front of that opportunity for it to turn out good. Yep. But I had to be prepared before I got there as well, right? And that preparation took a lot of years. How many times did I listen to myself doing a presentation that, it was just I remember your presentation CD early on, it was like a CD, right? And I would put it on like 2 speeds, so you'd sound like a chipmunk. And I was listening to it over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and for years. And then I did, recorded myself doing it. I forgot YouTube, and then I started over and over and over and over and over, and I've listened to myself, It's just like all those times that you do that's preparation.
Did you ever go back and listen to your old self and go, damn, that's pretty good?
Yeah, I do.
I heard one like a couple months ago, and I'm like, that was me?
Yeah.
I used to be a pretty good speaker.
That's awesome. Yeah. Isn't that cool, though, to like think about, when you make these choices that, there's going to be times, and I think that, we do that with our kids. We look at our kids and go, man, that was awesome. I'm so proud of them for making that decision. I think we do that to ourselves, but again, it goes back because you were willing to do it.
Yeah. It's true.
It is cool. It's a lot of fun to look back and be proud of the choices and decisions you made.
Mm-hmm.
And I think hopefully today's podcast that people will realize if you just start somewhere, just start small. It's fitness with the bar and, getting rid of the crap in your house and replacing it with some good stuff.
Yep.
In business, just make it a phone call or start with your presentation or whatever it may be. Just start somewhere and get good and just make good choices.
It will not take as long as you think it's going to take.
No.
But it takes longer than most people are willing to put forth the effort for. So that's important to keep that in mind. It doesn't take as long as you think it's going to take, but it takes long. So, for example, you start working out. You start doing a little working out, correct your diet, just I'm going to go, it's not that easy. But it doesn't take talent. It may not be that easy, but it does not take talent either. So,
and it doesn't take that long. It takes 90 days.
Yeah, so if it doesn't take talent, you can do it, right? And yes, 90 days, you're going to go, look at, we're going to have Chris Tucko on our podcast about a month, right?
Yep.
And you inspired him to do 75 hard. He went from whatever it was, 200 and something pounds to 280 pounds or something down to 180.
And he's shredded. Yeah, I think he's like 165 or 170 right now.
Yeah, so we'll have him on and 75 days. And
you know what's cool about his story too, and I love it. I've known Chris for a lot of years, and he was a motocross racer, so he's got all these injuries. And for years, he has always said, "Oh, I've got plates in my my ankle, or screws and rods in my ankle, and in my shoulders, and all this kind of stuff. So I can't work out." And I think that over the years, that he would tell himself that, and I'm going to love to hear him say this on here from his own words. And then watching him, a couple of months ago make this decision, just like, I'm just going to do it.
He got sick and tired of being sick and tired, and like, okay, time to change. Jeff's doing it. I'm going to, And
really we started together. Like the first day we did 75 hours, like, hey, dude, you want to do this? Yeah, I want to do it. Let's go. And then kind of just hold each other accountable,
Cool.
And to see, and then about halfway through, I'm like, hey, dude, we used to do 90-day cycle in our business. And he knew because, he worked with us, and said, instead of doing 75, I want to do 90 days. Are you down? He goes, yeah, I'm down, And I'm sure at that time, I don't know, but I'm sure when I text him, like really, dude? Like, this is the hardest. Like, let's just do 90 days, right? And I truly believe that anybody can change their life in 90 days. I don't care if it's a business, your physical life, your marriage. You can change your life in any area in 90 days if you're willing to do these 100%. Things. Yeah, like you said.
And you have to be ready.
Yeah.
If you're not ready, nothing anybody can do to help you. So you do got to be ready. So if you're not ready, I guess when you're ready, come back and listen again and then go do it, right? But
because trying to get someone to be ready is like pushing a wet noodle, right? Just they don't move very far.
Yeah. I mean, there's things I'm not ready to do yet that I'm human. So, I wish I could just snap my finger. I'm ready to improve in this area now, but I'm not there yet. I mean, I'll know when I know, right?
Yep.
I mean, Lexi says it all the time. Lexi's in phenomenal shape and keeps herself fit and stuff, but she isn't feeling that so much right now. I've kind of been slacking, and she's great. But when she decides to really turn it on, it's like they're like no stopping her.
Yep.
And we had some good news on her back, by the way. So she's had those two lower discs, our degenerative discs.
Yep.
They're gone. She has the one that's herniated. So we're going to go do some stem cells in Tijuana.
Awesome.
And they said should have a lot of success, should be able to grow those back, no problem. So we're hoping no surgery. We were thinking we're going to have to go do surgery. So that good news. Good news there.
Well, not only is that good news for Lexi, but it's also good news for anybody listening that if you got challenges like that, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Right?
You know what, though? Yeah. So the reason we're going to Tijuana is because it's like a tenth of the cost of doing it in the U.S. You can do stem cells in the U.S., but it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So, we're going to go down there.
I know a lot of people do Mexico, Panama, different countries for stem cells. But that's awesome.
Yeah. That's good news.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm excited about that.
Well, thanks, dude, for today's podcast. I think it's going to help a lot of people.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, right? We had our guest that couldn't make it today, and so we talked about some stuff today. I don't know what we talked about, but it was good.
It was. And as on the way over here when you said that they weren't going to make us, say, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
And right. I think hopefully those of you guys listening today, we didn't have notes with this. This wasn't prepared. No. This was, I hate saying that from the heart, but it really was from our knowledge and many years of experience of some of these things. So hopefully those of you guys listening understand that you're going to win. I mean, if you make the right choices and you do the right things long enough, you are going to win. And it might, what took someone else 5 years might take you 10.
Yeah.
But does it really matter as long as you win?
No, and if you make mistakes like Liver King, he's made a mistake recently, right?
Yeah.
All my hope in humanity's lost now. Liver King is on performance-enhancing drugs. I would have never imagined that he would have been...
Dude, it was like... my first response was like, if you really are shocked about that... Like, I question everything about you.
I love following that guy, though. Sounds like he's taking responsibility. He's like, hey, I messed up. I'm getting back on the...
Yeah.
I'm gonna, so that's good. That's a good thing. We all make mistakes, and I admire that he's he's like, hey, look, I made a mistake. At least he's owning up to it now.
Yeah.
And we all make mistakes. So I think it's a good lesson, right? He's a successful guy. And
well, it reminds me, it's like, we'll see, right? We'll see what he's really made of. Now, I think, because doing steroids or not, it was like Lance Armstrong when he got, when he got exposed for doing steroids. Like he still had to get on the bike and ride the bike.
Yes.
Liver King still had to, he still had to lift weights.
He still works his butt off. Yeah.
So I think that he's mentally tough enough. A long time ago, some people listening to this might remember Ronda Rousey, and my wife loved Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
And Ronda Rousey came into the UFC, was kicking butt, and I think 7 fights in. I think she was 7-0. I could be wrong. But I think 7 fights into her career, she was like this worldwide icon.
Yes.
And I kept telling Kelsey, like, she's only got 7 fights, and then the next fight, she doesn't just lose. She if I'm not mistaken, I think she got kicked in the face.
Holly
Holmes.
Yeah, Holly Holmes, yeah.
Kicked her in the face and just gone, right? And never really seen her since. And Ronda had a book about how to be successful and all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was on my bookshelf. And I remember I told Kelsey, I went home one day and I threw it in the trash. She goes, what are you doing? And I go, I'm throwing this thing in the trash. She goes, why? I go, because that girl got kicked in the face and never came back. Mm-hmm. And if she got kicked in the face and then came back and fought and then lost and came back and lost and came back, I would have a lot more respect for her than... Yeah. And she did. She came back a time or two and lost, but then just left, right? Yeah. But she could have been a worldwide icon.
Yeah, we'll see, right? Her life isn't over, and she's a WWE or whatever now doing that.
Yeah.
In fact, I was just hunting with a guy 2 weeks ago. He's actually good friends with Ronda. And I said, how's she doing? And because I kind of wanted to know, because I've kind of had the same thought process as, she kind of quit. And he goes, she's doing really well. She's doing well with that career, and she's on top of the world. And her and her husband own a big ranch, and they sell a bunch of beef. And anyway, she's living a really good life. So it's good to hear, right? So you're right. I mean, we all fall, and sometimes we fall for a long time. And I understand why you would throw the book away for that time. But hey, maybe a few years from now, she'll write another book and say, hey, I fell here, and then I got back up, and then I went to WWE. Still, I mean, I think it's kind of funny, but it's good.
Success is success, however they do it. And
exactly.
Yeah, and I think if she wrote a book now and she comes back and she gets on top, that's the book I want to read.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't want to read the book that you wrote when you were on top and you never had struggles. Yeah. I want to read the book where you fell and you came back, right? And I think those are the success stories that are real, that matter, right? Mm-hmm. Or the people that nobody wins consistently forever, right? You're going to get your butt kicked somehow. Yep. And so I think, those situations, we'll see if Liver King responds that way. I think he will, as much effort as he's put into getting to where he's at. It's cool to hear Ronda Rousey. I didn't know that because I haven't really followed her, but it's cool that she's doing good after that. Yep. And I would hope that anybody listening to this, if you're having a downtime right now, you say, you know what, time to dust off and go chase my dreams again and go make something happen. And if you're on top of the world, just know that there's going to be some challenging times coming. And those that win respect you for how you respond during the challenging times far more than how you were acting when you're at the top. Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Yep. Good stuff, man. Awesome, man. Appreciate you. All right, guys. Well, for those of you listening today, thanks for plugging in and thanks for supporting Solid. We appreciate it. As you're listening to this, if you will please, after you get done listening, share it, comment, rate us, post it on social media. Let's get our word out there. We're having a lot of very positive feedback. So if you guys could please continue to give us feedback, we love it. We're having such a good time doing this and just passing on some of the great information that we've been so blessed that people have poured into us. And so we really want to get it out to other people and make a positive impact in other people's lives. So Thanks, guys, for plugging in. Stay solid.